At year's beginning and at year's end, Frenchmen clashed with Frenchmen over Algerian self-determination, the policy carried forward by de Gaulle with stirring moral and physical courage. In South Africa, native protest flared against apartheid and passbook laws. 100 died when police fired on demonstrators at Sharpeville. Then came the attempted assassination of Premier Fiervaux.
Media has always had a major impact on the opinions of its audience. It comes as no surprise then that the presidential campaign race between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon in 1960 was drastically affected by television, which was at that time still being adopted by the general American population. This election also marked the first time in history that the presidential debates were to be broadcasted live to every home with a television set. This meant that the candidates were going to be judged on things other than their experience and past merits. They were going to be evaluated on their appearance and ability to stand their ground on issues and answer tough questions under the bright lights and before the judgmental glare of a camera. And though the television was still making its way into homes of Americans, its influence on the election was enormous, being that at least 100 million viewers tuned in to at least one of the debates. In essence, victory was guaranteed to the candidate that was able to address the issues without a script and come across as charming, even while disputing his opponent that was sitting a mere couple feet from him. Agreeing to these televised debates can be considered as having been great risks for both parties. But Kennedy, being the lesser-known individual of the two, understood that this was the best method to get his image out to the general public. In turn, Nixon felt obligated to agree so that the Kennedy camp would not be able to use his refusal against him and portray him as a coward. Indeed, Kennedy understood the power of television early on, and when Nixon denied his proposal of agreeing on a limit on the television time each side could buy, he proceeded to utilize as much free television time as possible.
But that's a doggone season that he won't try something new. A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do.
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you. Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair? We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy and a change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy,
Mr. Nixon, would you like to comment on that statement? The next question.
After agreeing on certain criteria which determined that the debates would be organized so as to not interfere with the candidates' touring, that they would be 1 hour in length, and that they would be broadcasted live on all networks at the same time, it was announced that the first debate was scheduled for September 26th, the second for October 7th, the third for October 13th, and the fourth for October 21st. It was also revealed that the first of the 4 debates would concentrate on the topic of domestic issues. This was to Nixon's displeasure, since he considered foreign affairs his strong suit, and believed that the first debate would be the most watched. Nixon's prediction came true when the first debate garnered the highest ratings out of all 4. Nixon's bad luck flourished when he clearly appeared to be ill on the night of the first debate. Nixon would later admit to having a fever of 102 and being on prescribed antibiotics. Of course, Nixon had the option of using makeup, but refused to put on what Kennedy had previously called a false face when he debated Humphrey. Regardless of this fact, makeup was and is still common practice in the television world, and would have aided Nixon in slightly evening up the odds considering his competitor was younger and better looking than him. While the main topic of the second debate was foreign affairs, nearly 10% less people watched it, and therefore Nixon's discussion on his strongest subject was not delivered to over half of the major northern and northeastern cities, according to a New York Times survey. For the third debate, Kennedy was located in New York and Nixon in Los Angeles, brought together through television editing. Though the audience was unable to see Kennedy's podium, Nixon caught a glance of pieces of paper and was angered that Kennedy broke their verbal agreement. Because of this, every presidential debate since 1984 has included a memorandum of understanding that sets up rules for the debates. During the fourth and final debate, Kennedy challenged Nixon to an additional debate, but while his advisors considered it a possibility, Nixon declined in the end.
These were the years when the United States started to move again. That's the question before the American people, and only you can decide what you want this country to be, what you want to do with the future. I think we're ready to move, and it is to that great task, if we're successful, that we will address ourselves.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. This hour has gone by all too quickly. Thank you very much for permitting us to present the next President of the United States on this unique program. I've been asked by the candidates to thank the American networks and the affiliated stations for providing time and facilities for this joint appearance. Other debates in this series will be announced later and will be on different subjects. This is Howard K. Smith. Good night from Chicago.
It is widely believed that Kennedy's superior appearance and speech during the televised debates played an enormous role in his election to the presidency. The most resonating effect of the 1960 presidential debates, however, is that Nixon and Kennedy created a model by which every debate has been based upon up to this very day.